Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Smile. Today, I'm joined in the studio by Jo Kinna, a breathwork, yoga, and meditation facilitator and a proud mum of 4. Jo has been in recovery for 3.5 years, and her journey through addiction, multiple stints in rehab, and facing her mental health challenges has shaped the powerful woman she is today. Over the past 18 months, Jo has dedicated herself to deep inner work, creating a more honest and wholesome life for herself and her children. Now she's passionate about sharing a holistic approach to healing and guiding others through life's challenges and showing what's possible when we harness the power of breathwork to transform our lives. Now, Jo and I met a little over 3.5 years ago now, and she became first a client and now a dear friend of mine. And watching her grow has truly been a privilege. So I'm really, really excited for you guys to hear her story today. And with that, Jo, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's great.
This is exciting, isn't it?
It is.
How are you feeling?
Bit nervous.
Bit nervous. That's right. We did a couple of deep breaths before we started recording,
yes.
which always helps. It's funny, obviously I've done over, oh my goodness, like close to 150 of these now. And I still get nervous as well.
Do you?
Yeah. It's a good nerve though. It's that it's the excitement, it's the anticipation, and yeah, I think I just love it so much that I always want it to go really well for the guest as well, because I know just how much it takes to get the courage to come on a show like this and to share your story in service of helping others. So I'm truly, truly grateful that you're here today.
Oh, thank you. I'm grateful to be asked.
Yes, and Frankie's very happy that his Auntie Jo is here.
And Frankie's keeping me calm.
Yeah, that's right. It's right. He's very, he's not only the mascot, he's a little supporter as well. Support dog. Exactly. I don't know how much of a support he is. Oh my goodness. All right, Jo. Well, we're going to kick it off like always with some nice, easy questions to help the audience get to know you a little bit better. So can we start with, where do you live? What does an average day look like, and what do you do for fun?
I live in Aspendale, down near the beach, which I love. It's nice and quiet, and it's a great spot. What was the next question?
An average day. What does that look like?
An average day. So I always start my days with Vedic meditation, which I learnt earlier this year, and some breath work. Always start my day that way. From then it can really vary just because I am divorced, so I have my kids week on, week off. And so when I have them, obviously the mornings can be a bit crazy with getting kids not ready for, like they get themselves ready, but just getting them up and about for uni. And I've still got 2 in high school, and my eldest one could be doing who knows what. So she's kind of, she does some modelling, but she's, jobs could be anywhere. So it's, And then the weeks that I don't have them, I can spend a bit more time in the mornings journaling and working on my business, and probably do longer breath works when I do that. And I love going to the beach, taking the dogs out for a walk.
Yes, you've got 2 tiny horses.
They are tiny horses, yes.
They're very, very sweet, aren't they?
They are just a little bit bigger than Frank.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny
They'd
bit.
eat Frank for breakfast.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the days are quite varied then.
Yes.
Why do you start your days with Vedic meditation and breath work, and what does that do for you?
I learnt when I started doing breath work before Vedic meditation, just how much it can ground me first thing in the morning. Even if I've had a terrible night's sleep, because there's a lot of times I don't sleep well. I'm not the best sleeper. So I find that when I do breath work and Vedic meditation, it just sort of brings me back to myself. And I find it's a really nice way to start the day, because otherwise you can kind of hit the ground running and life can just hit chaos mode, 10 minutes after I've walked downstairs.
I agree. I was actually meditating this morning, and I noticed I went straight into an unguided meditation, and I noticed that my breath was really shallow. And so then I started just doing like the 2 bells or the heart coherence breathing in my mind. And so I was inhaling for a slow count of 5 and then exhaling for a slow count of 5. And I found that after a couple of minutes of doing that, I could then actually drop into my meditation, because sometimes you're not ready for it. If you're feeling anxious, For me, the last thing that is actually going to be helpful in that situation is to go straight into a meditation with no guide.
Yes.
Like, I'm just like, like there's ways that we can regulate and bring ourselves down.
Oh, absolutely. And I find too sometimes if I've had a coffee before I've meditated,
I know.
Head just goes, yeah.
I have that internal battle in my mind every single morning and I negotiate with myself. So I'm like, I wake up and I go, I really want a coffee. And then I'm like, but you haven't done your meditation yet. But maybe you could have your coffee now and then meditate a little bit later. But you know you're not going to meditate a little bit later. So you need to just do your meditation. Like it's every single morning. Thankfully, this morning, reason one, and I meditated before I had my coffee, and then it's almost like that little reward after, which is nice. But every single day, it's the same negotiation.
Yeah, 100%. It's like when I was drinking every day, I wake up and say, I'm not going to drink today.
Exactly right. Yes, yeah. And so you are in recovery.
Yes.
What does your recovery program look like these days?
These days, I'm still in AA, very much so. Again, it depends week on, week off with the kids, how many meetings I get to. I try to get to at least 2 a week, but sometimes when I have the kids, that doesn't happen, just with, sports trainings and stuff on at night. But I definitely get to like at least 3 the weeks that I don't have the kids. I mean, look, we say it's progress, not perfection. Like my recovery is certainly not perfect by any means. I would love to be doing a lot more. But I find that because I do the meditation and the breath work, like for me, that's part of my recovery.
Without a doubt.
That's how I make it work.
Yeah.
Because I was really lucky in that once the penny finally dropped for me my last time in rehab, I haven't wanted to pick up a drink, so I haven't had that constant battle. It was like an instant shift for me. And so for me, it's all about mine's all my emotional battle.
Yeah, your emotional sobriety.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know that the meditation, it's a lifelong journey, Jo,
yes.
as we've come to realise. Yes. Awesome. All right, great. And tell me, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? What do I do for fun? I've just been on a retreat. That was fun.
That was fun.
That was great. I loved that. Look, I love being by the water. The beach has always been my happy place. I used to take when I only had one dog, I used to take him to the beach. He's become a bit naughty, my 2-year-old horse. So I tend to not take them as much anymore, but I love getting to the beach. I love going out walking with my eldest daughter. Normally comes with me most of the time to walk them because they're not easy to walk. And look, go out for dinners here and there, but you know what? I'm pretty quiet. Like I'm pretty, what I've learnt in my recovery is that I actually do have a bit of social anxiety. So for me, I'm happy going to meetings and I feel comfortable in those spaces. But, yeah, I figure too at this point in my life, while the kids still want to hang around me, even though they're sort of in their teens and older, I love hanging out with them. And I guess part of that is in the back of my mind still trying to make up, for the damage that I did because my kids were all old enough to know what was going on.
Yeah.
Well and truly.
Yeah. And so there's that sense of living amends, but also maybe making up for time that was lost during those really dark days. And we're going to talk a lot more about that a little later on in the conversation today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is interesting that you mentioned that you struggle with social anxiety because that's, I think, for people who meet you face value, they wouldn't guess that. And I think you've got a really good, and we've chatted about this a lot offline, you've got really good armour that you've had to learn to put on, mind you. These are coping mechanisms. These are strategies that we have adopted from a need at some point in our life, And so when I first met you, I saw the hard exterior and, I love that I now get to see the squishy insides and the really soft, warm side of you, which is so beautiful. But it's interesting that you say, I imagine that social anxiety then maybe does it feel like a bit of a defense when you go into spaces?
I hadn't really thought about it like that, but probably, yeah.
And can I say, having observed you in a group of new people just recently on retreat, I think that a lot of that has dissolved. Like, you really dropped in quickly.
I did, but also it made it easier because I felt very comfortable instantly in that space.
Why do you think that was?
Look, I think the fact that it was probably it was my first time to Bali, and I felt sort of when I landed that I felt at home. So I think it was the environment as well, but the people on the retreat made it super easy.
Yes.
Like they were all amazing.
Yeah.
They were all lovely people and easy to talk to, and we were all there for similar reasons, and it was just, it was beautiful. It was, So that did make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But if I was to walk into, like, not that I go to pubs very often, but if I was to walk into a party or a pub where I didn't know many people, I'd be on the back foot.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's really normal. I actually think I'm a bit like that as well. Most people would say that I'm extroverted, but I've really noticed, particularly since not drinking, that I'm less inclined to want to go into those environments.
Yeah.
And also it takes a lot out of you.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. So I get it. I'm like, I think I'm just going to give that one a miss.
Yes.
Like, I've got a date with Frank on the couch.
Yes.
And we're just super excited about that. Yeah, I think it's important to really be mindful of your energy and how much battery you actually have so that you're not putting yourself into environments where you're constantly drained.
And who I want to give my energy to.
1000%. Because we all only have so much. And when you're giving in one area of your life, you have to take from another area.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, where are you willing to push-pull? Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Okay, we've got so much to chat about today, but I want to talk about your photo because, Joe, I've asked you to bring in a photo today from a time in your life where you are hiding behind a smile. So you were presenting one version of yourself to the outside world, but the reality was you were struggling on the inside. So could you please firstly describe for our audience who are perhaps listening and can't see the photo I'm bringing up on the screen right now, what are we looking at here in this photo? And then tell me about what was happening for you at that time in your life.
Sure. It was taken actually at my last job before I got sober, and it was spring carnival time. So it was Oaks Day, and I used to go to the Oaks every year with some friends and get completely trashed.
As you do at the races.
As you do at the races.
Are there even
spring.
horses?
Well, I used to work in that industry. So, yes, I was one of the ones that did actually take notice of the horses.
Right, okay.
But, we decided to have an Oaks Day sort of girls thing and get dressed up at work. And this was probably, I'm just trying to think, it was probably about 2 months before I was allowed to resign, aka got sacked, but allowed to resign. So, we're all dressed up, got makeup on, making it look like the world's a wonderful place.
Yeah, but what was the reality at that time? What did life really look like?
Yeah, the reality was hugely different. I was drinking on the way to work. This was during COVID. I was drinking on the way to work. I would then sit in the car park after work and drink rather than go home to my 4 children because I was so unhappy in my marriage and obviously in myself. And I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. I hated myself. It was like being in that vicious cycle of I don't like myself, so I'm going to wake up and drink to forget that I don't like myself. And then at the end of the day, I don't like myself and then wake up still feeling like that, saying I'm not going to drink again, but then you drink because I was feeling so crap. Totally relate to that. You wake up and you think to yourself, I'm not going to do that again today. Today is going to be different. And then, at whatever time it is for you, that drink is all of a sudden back in your hand without really even a conscious thought. It's almost like it just happens. And then you start drinking again and then you forget about how much you hate yourself for maybe a second or two. Yes.
And then it comes back 10 times worse. And then the only thing to stop that is to keep drinking. It's the hamster wheel. It is such a vicious cycle and one that is so, so hard to step off. But before we talk about how you stepped off, I want to go back a little bit. How did you get there, Joe? When did you start drinking?
Oh, look, I probably started when I was about 15, thinking that it was just the Aussie teenage rite of passage to, go out and get trashed every weekend. I guess for me too, it was a massive escape.
What were you escaping from?
My home life, I guess. My dad was hit by a bus when I was 8 years of age. He physically died but was resuscitated at the scene. And he spent a few months in hospital, was severely brain damaged, and came home and wasn't my father. So it's really weird for me to talk about this stuff because for so long I didn't. Because for me that was just the norm. We never really spoke about it at home. It was all kind of not brushed under the carpet, but it was, I guess back in those days, my mum had to be super strong. She had 4 kids. I was the youngest. My eldest brother was doing year 12 that year, so that was particularly hard on him. Hard on all of us in very different ways. The first day of my life that I remember is the day of my dad's accident. I don't remember anything really before that at all.
Wow.
So I think, in hindsight, and I guess even now just talking to you again, it's sort of become glaringly obvious that that's probably the reason that I drank to escape for such a long time. It wasn't really until I had my 4th child and got sent to see a psychologist for postnatal depression that I even really ever talked about this stuff, like all through high school. And there's a lot of high school stuff I don't remember. It's like it was explained to me once, it's like muscle memory, like the more you work your memory, the better it is.
Yeah, right.
So I think there's a lot that I've erased even from my high school years after the accident. And yeah, I obviously, I don't think it was postnatal depression. I think I'd suffered anxiety and depression all my life, but it was just never diagnosed. And I guess it was hard to hear all this stuff when she started bringing up my dad and how, as an 8-year-old, I would have changed to try and please everyone and keep the peace because I just couldn't cope with my dad's. It was like having another child around. He would just have outbursts of anger and not necessarily physical, although sometimes it got a little bit physical with one of my brothers. But there were certainly times, not that I remember, but that I've been told that my eldest brother, Mum would tell him to take us out of the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely an escape for sure.
Of course. And, as you share that story with me, Joe, what makes me feel so sad for that little version of you is that it seems to me like your sense of safety was taken away from you.
100%.
And to not feel safe in your own home is incredibly dysregulating. Like children need to feel safe and protected.
And look, I guess that's the thing. My mum did her best.
Of course, yeah.
To try and keep it all as normal as possible,
But that's just not a normal situation, is it?
No.
To lose your life partner, the love of your life. And I imagine as well, similarly to people who have a loved one going through something like dementia or Alzheimer's where they're physically there, but the essence, the core of them, their soul has left their body.
Yes.
Did it feel like that to an extent?
I guess so. I mean, it's hard, as I said, because I don't talk about it very often. And there's probably a very good reason that my head tells me not to talk about it and why I've stuffed so much of it down to the point where I can't remember a lot of it. But, yeah, I guess that would have been the case. And it wasn't until it was pointed out to me, and obviously I had children by that stage. The eldest was just under 6 when I had my 4th. So she said to me, imagine your daughter now if this happened now to you with your current husband. It was like a penny dropped. because I had not ever thought about it affecting me or my life in any way until that time.
And just to truly realise how little you were, like so young, to have such a huge traumatic event occur, and then to not have an environment, you know, essentially your reality was denied.
Yep.
And then what happens when our reality is denied, particularly as a young child, we learn to question ourselves.
Yes.
Because, oh, hang on a minute, these adults, these older people who I put all of my trust into are telling me that what I think and perceive to be happening is not real. So I must be wrong. And then you grow up thinking that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty fucked up core belief to have to grapple with.
Yeah.
No wonder alcohol felt like a release. So tell me a little more about the progression of that then, because you sort of, I imagine that, well, I know you've shared with me before that you were relatively sober while you were having your babies.
Yes. No, I didn't drink. I didn't drink at all. Sort of probably for 8 years, from the age of, well, maybe not 8 years, maybe 7 years, from the age of 33 to 40, just before 40. Frankie was born 3 months before I turned 40.
And when did the drinking start to pick up?
Not long after that.
And do you think that was perhaps linked to, you know, what they were describing as postnatal? Like, did you kind of think that maybe there was a bit of self-medicating happening there?
Quite possibly. Yeah, I don't know that I put too much thought in it back then.
Yeah, and we often don't, right? Like it's unconscious. We have a feeling which we seek to soothe, but there's no thought process of I'm feeling sad, so I'm going to have a drink.
No.
Yeah, I was exactly the same.
No.
You just and because it's so normalized,
yeah,
you just think, oh, I'm just having my 5 o'clock wine.
Yeah.
When did that start to creep into the day though? Like I know you were a morning drinker.
Yes. I was pretty much a round-the-clock drinker. When did that start? I guess, you know, if I'm really honest about it, like any opportunity there was to drink earlier in the day, I grabbed it, you know, like grand final day or Christmas Day or New Year's Eve.
Same.
Or, you know, any of those, you know.
Catching a plane.
I can have a champagne. Yeah. Airports anytime because it doesn't matter what time of day it is.
There's
when
no
you're at
time
the
zone in an airport.
Exactly. But yeah, so, you know, I would have done that regardless, you know, Derby Day, Oaks Day, Melbourne Cup Day, you know, any of those. When I used to work those days, but after I finished and after when I stopped having children and feeding and stuff like that, yeah, all those days were just, yay, I can drink earlier than normal today, you know.
Yeah. But do you remember the day where you had that first drink in the morning and it was just a regular day? And were there any kind of like alarm bells going off for you? Because I know for a lot of people that's like you know, we always have the yets. Like, well, this hasn't happened yet. Or this hasn't happened. I haven't lost my license yet. I haven't been fired yet. And then slowly those things start to happen. Happening. Morning drinking just felt really like a normal next step for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so...
I think I did see red flags, but I didn't care. I honestly didn't care. Because by that stage I think I was so depressed that I didn't care about myself and I didn't care what I was doing. And as I said, that made me feel so much worse because I had 4 children that I was supposed to be looking after.
And the guilt that must come with that.
Horrendous. But not enough guilt to stop me. Yeah,
well, isn't it, you know, you and I have heard time and time again, you can't stop for anyone else.
No.
And it's very sad, and, you know, there's often quite a horrible stigma put on particularly mothers who are alcoholics because it's like, how could you do that? How could you do that to your children? And it's like, this is a fucking disease that is trying to kill me. If I had choice around this, I would not be doing it. I'm not kicking goals and loving life here. Like I've either become physically dependent or emotionally dependent or even spiritually dependent on this substance to be able to do life. You know, that's the reality of it.
But in the end, that wasn't even working.
So
the alcohol was making more miserable.
Yeah. Tell me when it stopped working.
I think it was, well, it was definitely, I know, it was during COVID definitely. It was when I was at that job that photo of me is taken, and I was drinking pretty much 24/7.
Were you hiding it?
I thought I was.
What were some of your genius hiding places?
Under the mattress, in my bed, in my...
Like in a water bottle?
Yeah, in a water flask.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, always tipped my wine. It was white wine, so, always tipped it into...
No one's going to smell that.
Had multiple water flasks in my car that I would, by the end I was buying, 2-litre cardboard wine from Aldi. Like it wasn't like I was out there spending a fortune on grog. I was buying it cheap. Like I wasn't there. I mean, I hadn't been drinking for taste for years.
Yeah.
But by that stage, it was, the $7 2-litre cast wine from Aldi.
And you said that, you thought you were hiding it, but...
The kids knew every hiding spot. I didn't know that for a while, but they did.
Did they told ever say anything?
Yeah. No, not at the time.
Why not?
I think they were scared.
Yeah.
I think they were too scared too. Even my ex-husband didn't talk to me about it.
Wow.
So, but I think he was scared. He didn't know what to do. He didn't want me in the house. But what was he going to do? Keep me out?
Yeah.
I had nowhere to go. I had no family in Melbourne. Like, he was stuck with me.
And do you feel like, I don't know, this just sort of came to my mind, when you don't understand the disease of addiction and you don't know what the solution is, it's almost like, well, maybe we just won't talk about it and hope that it goes away. But you and I both know that it's a progressive illness and that it's only ever going to get worse.
Yeah.
So it did get worse. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was pretty much drink driving through the whole of COVID, because even when we were in our 5K Melbourne bubble, my work was less than 5Ks and the beach was less than 5Ks. So they were the only two places that I needed to go. I still worked through COVID in the office. We sold dog beds. So technically we were allowed to stay open because the factory built the beds and we serviced vets. And as you and I know, and everybody in Melbourne bought a dog over COVID to keep them company.
Yes, they did.
So my boss at the time made a small fortune from selling dog beds. So I was one of the lucky ones that could at least get out of the house every day and go to work. But I also got onto the fact very early, I don't even know if I should say this on the podcast, but that they weren't allowed to breathalyse you during COVID.
Wow.
So I worked that out very quickly that there were no booze buses.
Yeah,
because they weren't allowed to breathalyse you.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
I just thought there weren't as many cops on the road because there weren't as many people on the road.
Well, that too,
weren't they
no.
patrolling like the peninsula so people wouldn't go down to their beach houses?
Yes, yeah.
But no breatho.
No breathos. No.
Right.
Well, so, being a smart alcoholic.
Definitely would have figured that one out quick smart.
So I knew that I wasn't in any trouble driving anywhere during COVID. So, and that would have been when the worst of my drink driving was happening. So,
and what about at work? Were you drinking at work, obviously?
Yeah.
Did anyone say anything?
My manager at the time spoke to me because she could smell it. Her parents were both or one, I can't remember, it was alcoholics, and she knew the signs. So it's really interesting actually, because our daughters used to play netball at the same venue on a Saturday morning. And I think probably when I was about 2 years sober, I bumped into her at netball one morning and she said to me, Jo, I'm so sorry for how everything went down. And I said, I won't mention names, but I said to her, you don't know how much you changed my life. I said, I talk about how grateful I am now that I lost that job, and for the reason that I lost it. I said, because I probably wouldn't be here if it had kept going. I said, you did me the biggest favour anyone's ever done for me.
Wow.
And the look of relief on her face was incredible. And she said, I knew this was bigger than you and you needed help.
Such a powerful reminder around the importance of not enabling, because if she had done what was happening, at home and just not said anything and hoped that you sorted out or given you some annual leave, go have a holiday, get better, then, you wouldn't have lost enough. You wouldn't have gotten to that point of hitting rock bottom. But you did hit rock bottom.
She handed me the gift of desperation for sure. And, I am forever grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because she saved my life, essentially. But I feel like she was put in my path for that reason. Because if it hadn't have been somebody who understood as much as she could the disease of alcoholism, somebody else might not have picked up on that and just said, see ya, out the door. Like, at least she was really good about it.
Yeah. So she called you out? She said, like, I can smell it?
Yeah.
Wow. How, like...
And so I went and bought more Listerine and more chewing gum and tried to cover it up. I wasn't going to stop.
Oh, my goodness. That's just, I smile so much because I was like, yeah, I would have done the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. How can I remember the first time I got busted for drinking and I got grounded and I thought, how can I hide this better?
Yes.
It's not.
Should I stop
drinking? Because what madness would that be?
Yep. That's ridiculous.
Yes. So how did you then get into rehab? Because that's where you went after losing your job, right?
Yes. So I, of course, wasn't happy because I pretty much got told to pack my stuff and go on the spot. So I was really angry. And I went, of course, straight to the bottle shop, as you do. And I think my intention at the time was I bought a 4-litre cask of wine, not a 2-litre this time. And
really going for it.
Yeah, really going for it. And I drove down to the beach. And in the back of my head, I wanted to finish that wine and walk into the water and never come back out again. That's what I wanted to do because at that point, I was so low that I honestly thought, oh God, I get teary even thinking about it, that my 4 kids would be better off without me than spending the rest of their lives with an alcoholic mother. Because I didn't see a way out. I mean, I had been to AA once, probably about 5 years before that, and I walked into the room and I looked at all the differences, as we say to people, look for the similarities. But I just went, I'm not that bad. I'm not like you people. Fast forward 5 years. Yes, I was. But, yeah, so, I don't think I've ever told my children that I was planning on killing myself. But that was my intention. I think if push came to shove, I would have been too scared to do it. But that's what my head was telling me to do, that I was a waste of space and I was no good for my children and nobody would have missed me and I was better off dead. So, but I think too that's that victim mentality we fall into as alcoholics.
Yeah, well, it's all part of how the disease manifests, isn't it? Alcoholism kills thousands upon thousands of people every single year, but it's not just through the toxicity of the alcohol, it's what it does to our heads. And it's the literally the lies that we start to believe, lies like the world would be better off without me. How often alcoholism takes people away by their own hand.
Absolutely.
It's fucked.
I think in my first 12 months of sobriety, there was 3 people, 2 that I didn't know well but I knew from the rooms, and 1 that I was in rehab with, that all took their own lives.
Yeah, because you get to that point where you think to yourself, I can't live with alcohol and I can't live without it.
And it's just that point of, I just don't want to go on like this anymore. I didn't want to go on like that anymore.
And so what stopped you from continuing down that path, and where did the course correct happen? Was it you that called the rehab or someone else?
So that afternoon, it must have been my higher power looking after me, because I shot off a text when I was drunk to a girlfriend who lives on Beach Road still, and she was so worried she came looking for me. And I said to her, I can't go home, because I was so full of shame at losing my job. I didn't want to go home and face my husband at the time or my kids. I didn't want to face the world. I wanted to run away, essentially. Yeah. She came and picked me up. We went back to her place and I called my GP, who is an incredible man. He was probably one of the very few people that I actually ever admitted to how much I was drinking. So he'd kind of been on this journey. He's been the kid's only GP, so we've been going to him for a very long time. And he knew. So when I rang him and told him what happened, he just said to me, Joe, I want you to hang up the phone now. I'm going to send you a number and you're going to ring Malvern Private and you're going to go.
Wow.
And I guess because I trusted him, that's what I did. And this was towards the end of November, maybe even early December, and I was in Malvern 3 days before Christmas that year.
Oh,
which was hard.
brutal.
It was. I was meant to go in just after Christmas and they called me and said, you can come in a week earlier. And I balked at that. And my sister actually came to Melbourne at that time because of everything that was happening. And Kath said to me, she said, Joe, you might miss this Christmas, but this might stop you missing every other Christmas from now on.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, good point. I didn't want to go because I didn't want to miss Christmas with the kids. But I just would have drank through it and not remembered most of it anyway.
And it's so important to remember there's never a good time.
No.
Like, there's never a great, like, in terms of, I mean, the best time is now to quit if you've got a problem.
Yeah.
But I remember making the same justifications in my own mind. I was like, but I just need to get through my brother's wedding, or I just need to get through this event or this function, or, you know, like our brain is always going to tell us, I'll just give up after this. But the reality, I love what you just said. You're just going to drink through it and forget it anyway.
Absolutely.
You know, and to Kath's point, you might miss this one, but it means you won't miss the rest.
Yeah.
But you were a little resistant, weren't you?
A little, yes. I had no idea what to expect from rehab. I'd never really even thought about a drug and alcohol rehabilitation place and what that would throw up at me. Excuse the pun. But I got in there. I went in sober. Well, my sister came in with me and my husband at the time and my kids all dropped me there. And I think if I had known you could go in drunk, I would have.
Same. I was like, that wasn't on the brochure. No, I remember people being like, how much did you blow? I was like, what?
Nothing. I blew zero for the first time in my life.
Damn it.
I know. So oh my God, I think I got in there. And to start, I was really bored because clearly they're used to people going in, you know, up
Intoxicated,
to the eyeballs.
yeah.
And so I was sitting around going, okay, well, what do we do? And they go, well, there's kind of groups on at the moment and it's probably a bit too confronting for you to just jump straight in. And I'm like, okay, rightio. So I'm sitting in my room, you know, went and looked at what, you know, AA book was the only book that you're allowed to take into this place. So I bought one of them and started reading it and I was like, oh, God, righto.
The things we'll do to escape ourselves.
Oh, yeah, I certainly wasn't going to sit with myself. And then it was really interesting because I'd only been there 2 weeks and still very much in victim mode and still, what am I doing here? I think the other thing too was hearing stories from other people. I still, in my head, didn't think I had a bad enough story, you know, like I would listen to these, I can't even think of the name of it, it'll come to me, but we used to have to do, if you were there for a month, you used to have to sit and...
A reality check.
A reality check, that's right. Yeah, reality check. And you would have to write all this stuff out about your life. And there was 2 particular questions that were the worst. And one was your worst day in addiction. And the other one was your traumas, your life traumas. And so it wasn't just bad enough that you had to write these out and share them with your counsellor. You then had to sit in the room and read it out to everybody in the rehab. So I remember hearing a couple of those when I first got in there and I was like, holy shit, I haven't been thrown in the back of a boot of a car and held at gunpoint because I owed drug, you know, I owed drug dealers money or anything like that. Like my life's tiny compared to, you know, so I still had in my head that I wasn't that bad. I knew I was an alcoholic, but I didn't think my life had gotten that bad.
And when you say I knew I was an alcoholic, what did that mean to you?
It meant that I knew I had an issue with alcohol, 100%. I knew I couldn't stop drinking.
It's like the powerlessness, or
Yes.
that you'd lost the power of choice.
But I didn't want to stop.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So I knew I was an alcoholic, but I didn't want to stop drinking.
Of course.
Because for me, I didn't know, like life might as well end if you can't drink.
Yes.
That's the way I looked at it. Like,
Yes,
how do
thank
you
you.
do life without alcohol?
Thank you for sharing that, because it's so important for people to be able to hear, like, from somebody who was a normal temperate drinker, to hear your story, they'd go, what the fuck? That's crazy.
Mm.
But when you're in it, you're in it. You don't know anything else. And it has such a grip on you that you do think to yourself, well, I can't possibly do life without it. I totally relate to that. I went to rehab having no intention of getting sober.
No.
I was like, I'm going to learn how to drink like a lady.
Mm.
Like, this is what rehab's going to do for me. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Because I still thought that it was actually deep down my fault, and that if I just got better, if I was just a better person, if I was just stronger willed, then I'd be able to fix it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No. And I remember my counsellor saying to me, you can forgive everybody else. You have this amazing power to be able to forgive everybody else in here when you hear their stories for their addiction, but you can't forgive yourself. And I'm like, no, because I feel that whole time, that first few times I was in rehab, it was all, this is my choice. This is what I'm choosing to do. I didn't see it as a disease. I didn't understand that concept. It was just a conscious choice that I was making to continue drinking and destroying my life.
And I'll give up when I'm ready. So you ended up going, was it 3 times?
Yes. So the first time I was in there, so COVID hit in Malvern, and I remember going and getting tested because they said somebody's got COVID, so we need to test everyone. But we want to test people with symptoms first. So they said, and we were sitting in this group and I was really bored, so of course trying to get out of it.
You're like,
I'll put my hand up, I'll go and get a test.
Totally something I would have done
just
back
to
in
get
the
out
day.
of going to the group.
Yeah.
And I had COVID.
Oh, no.
Oh, great. So the first 10 people that tested positive, they sent home for 7 days. And by pure luck, the day that I got tested, they tested us in the afternoon. My husband and kids had flown to Queensland that morning.
Right.
So I get Ubered home, and when I'm sitting in the Uber, I'm going, awesome, because somebody was looking after our house. It was my oldest daughter's girlfriend from down the street was looking after the house. So I said to Maddie, can you just call Liza, tell her I've been kicked out of rehab because I've got COVID, that she doesn't need to look after the dog, so, I'm at home. And I'm like, great. Got in the car, went down to the bottle shop, bought a 4-litre cask of wine and just went for it. And then they called me. They kept calling. I called the rehab because they hadn't sent me home with my anxiety meds. And the nurse could clearly tell I was under the weather already, 3 hours after leaving. Shit. And she said, I think you better come back in. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll come in the morning. And she said, okay. So they rang me in the morning. You coming in? Yep. Yeah, I'm coming in. Didn't go in. I was gonna go back, but I wanted to finish my wine before I wasn't gonna waste it.
Again, I understand.
So I kept drinking all afternoon, and then it was my drug and alcohol counsellor who called me the next morning, and she said, "Jo, get your ass back in here." I said, yep, I'm coming. I just got to pack some things and whatever. Meanwhile, the kids had called me the afternoon before, and I was off my head, and they wanted to put me on video so that they could see the dog. And I could overhear one of them in the background going, why do Mum's eyes look like they're rolling in the back of her head? I don't know how I remember that comment, but I do. And anyway, my counsellor called me like another 3 times that day. And the last time I was in the car, I'd driven back to Malvern, drunk, and I was in the car park, and she called me and she said, where are you? I said, I'm in the car park, I'm coming in. My car sat in the car park with the windows half down for like the next 3.5 weeks.
Oh, the chaos.
Oh, it was madness. So, yeah, so I learnt that you could drink before you went back in the second and third time.
You made sure that you did it really well.
Made sure I did it well.
Yeah.
But I was resistant. I was very resistant. I think more I went for other people.
Yeah.
I went into rehab because I wanted my husband off my back, and I wanted to try and prove to the kids that I was doing something about it when I didn't really want to.
So what made the last time different? Like, you've been sober for over 3.5 years now, and you were somebody who couldn't go 3.5 hours.
No.
What the hell happened?
It was really interesting. It was Mother's Day, and pardon me, we only ever had 5-minute calls in Malvern, which I used to laugh about.
To call your family.
To call the family each day. And, 5 minutes when you're on speakerphone with 4 kids fighting in the kitchen is not much fun and not very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not very useful. Doesn't really, you don't get much of an opportunity to call. On this day, I'd had a session with a different who I've continued to work with since leaving rehab, and I called, and for the first time my ex answered the phone, and he said the kids have been really anxious all day, and I couldn't work out why. I'd missed a Christmas with them. I'd missed my eldest daughter's 18th birthday. I'd missed my youngest daughter starting high school. I'd missed all these quite key milestones. And it wasn't until later, and I could hear the anxiety in their voices when they spoke to me. They were really worried that I wasn't going to call that day. And it wasn't till later that I actually hung up the phone, and I was really upset. And I went back to my room, and it occurred to me that I'm their only mum. Of course Mother's Day is going to be horrible for them because I'm not there. And at that point in time, 2 things happened. I realised that my kids love me no matter what, but I also sat in my room and looked in the mirror, and for the first time, I think I thought I had prior to this, but truly put myself in my kids' shoes. And that day changed me. From that day, I have not wanted to pick up a...
That's crazy.
It was my first experience. I think something bigger than me taking over.
Yeah.
Because that was not my choice. I didn't do that.
And were you somebody who was resistant to the idea of a higher power and handing it over?
I think I still struggle with that a little bit. I don't struggle with the concept of a higher power and spirituality. I've always been quite an intuitively spiritual person like that anyway. I guess my thing was I had it in my head, and I think I've spoken to a lot of the people who have gone into the AA rooms and struggled with this. It's the word God.
Sure.
My mum, we used to call her Captain Catholic. But I can look at that now and go, my mum went to church so often because that was where she could get peace.
Yeah, and that's her community, right?
After my dad's accident. That's where she found peace. So who cares how you do it? You know what I mean? Everyone does it differently. Even you and I do things differently. As similar as our programs might be, it's always going to be slightly different.
Exactly right.
But
and my God or my high power looks different to yours, and we don't need to explain what it is to each other.
No.
It's all that matters is that you believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew from then that something else saved me because I couldn't have done it. There was no way I could have stopped drinking. I say to people all the time in the rooms, I take my hat off to people who can go to AA and get sober.
Yeah, without the support of a rehab, yeah.
Because I could not have done it. As long as I could get my hands on alcohol, I was going to. I had to be removed and have no opportunity to buy alcohol.
Yeah, that was the same for me. I actually needed to be physically removed from the substance long enough for there to be some clarity or some space inside my mind to be able to hear the message.
Yeah.
And then once that happened, about 10 days in, and the fog started to lift, I was able to actually hear the solution to this problem that was in the 12 steps.
Yeah.
And in the program and in the rooms. So, Jo, you have this pivotal moment, this spiritual experience, we'll call it, and then you get out of rehab and life happens and you have had to now learn how to do life sober, learn how to be a mum sober. You had a relationship that needed it. Talk to me about how you navigated all of that, because things got actually a little darker, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, things did get very dark. on more than one occasion. When I left Melbourne, I actually went to a long-term rehab down in, which, again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I'm sure that happened for a reason. I'm still to work that out because I hated my time in Geelong, and that's just for me. That's not for anyone else. Long-term rehabs are really beneficial, but I think because I'd had that moment in rehab where it was almost like I had visions of me picking up a glass of wine and it making me physically ill. That's kind of what happened. So I knew that for the foreseeable future at least, I wasn't going to be picking up a drink. So I kind of felt a bit resentful going down to the rehab.
And I imagine you were just so desperate to get back to your kids by that stage.
But I had promised my kids that I would do it. And I think part of me making amends and showing them the right thing to do was going and sticking to it.
Yeah.
The one good thing about it was that because I was sober for over a month before I went down, I was allowed pretty much immediate weekend leave. I mean, you obviously get tested going back in and stuff, but so I could come back to Melbourne. And then that first weekend I drove my car back down to Geelong, so then I could just drive back up to Melbourne every Friday night and drive back Sunday, so I was still seeing the kids.
Yeah, great. And you were still staying in the family home at that stage?
Yes.
When did you separate?
That's a tricky one. So I physically living in separate buildings, separation only, what are we? So April of last, so 18 months ago, something like that, when we finally living separately. But, the marriage had been over for a while.
Yeah.
And we were living under the same roof. And, look, that was more for financial reasons than anything else. It's quite hard financially to separate when you've got 4 children.
Yeah, of course.
But the kids are much happier now that we have.
Yeah.
It wasn't a healthy environment.
Yeah.
So, and, a huge part of that is on me. And that's the one thing I've learnt, to take accountability.
Yeah. I remember when you were getting really close to moving into your own place and we had a number of conversations because you were terrified.
Yes.
Terrified. You hadn't been alone.
I'd never lived alone ever
in your life, and you were coming to a reality where you would be alone every second week, for a week at a time. Would you mind talking about how you navigated that transition and worked through that fear? Because you're in a very different place now.
Meetings. That's what got me through. I remember dropping the kids off on the very first Friday night and going to my then home group on a Friday night, and I cried the entire way there. And I shared at that meeting and I said, I've got meetings to come to, so I'm really lucky. I've got a community that I can connect with every single night of the week if I need to. And that saved me.
And when do you think that fear of being alone started to shift?
I think when I started really doing lots of inner work with you and breathwork kicked in, and then, Vedic meditation and stuff that I've done before but not done, not obviously. I used to be a yoga teacher a long time ago, and so pranayama is a big part of yoga teaching. So
which is it's a style of breathwork.
It's a style of breathwork, yeah. And so I'd always known how the breath can help, but of course never put it into practice really outside the yoga, off the yoga mat. I'd never really done it, anywhere else. So I think when I started working with you and diving into stuff that I didn't really want to dive into, that's when things started turning around. And knowing that I had support was so helpful to me. And, you have been a major part in that, in my recovery. And, I'm eternally grateful. And now we're close friends and it's amazing. And I would not have had that if I was still drinking. So, but to honestly really start looking at yourself like you do when you're doing the steps, as you know. I always say, step 4 and then going on from there is like sitting in a room of mirrors and taking a long fucking hard look at yourself.
Yep.
It's not comfortable, but you get, you learn. I remember saying to you one time when I'd been feeling down and low for a long period of time, probably, I don't know, was it like 6 months or something?
Yeah, it was a dark patch.
And feeling horrendous. And then having this moment when I was doing my Vedic meditation. And just for everyone listening, I started on the Vedic meditation due to you, because as part of that program, I went to Christian and learnt how to do the Vedic meditation. And it was over Easter time this year. And I just had all these thoughts come to my head, which sounds ridiculous when you're meditating, but that's kind of what Vedic meditation is all about. Whatever comes up.
Yes.
As you. And it was like, why do I want to live my life feeling miserable and sorry for myself? So I'd really fallen back into that old pattern pre-getting sober, that I was just feeling sorry for myself the whole time. And I remember you had said to me on so many occasions, you've just got to sit in the shit. And I've said to you so many times, I don't know how to fucking do that.
I'm sitting in the shit and it's not working.
How do I do that?
Yeah.
She's like, you're, and you kept saying to me, you're doing it.
You're
I'm like,
literally doing it.
and it wasn't until I came out that I went, that's what she meant. Like,
I'll never forget the day you called me and you're like, oh my God, I know what you mean now.
I know. It's like, and I mean, look, I still have days.
We all do, right?
But I've learnt so many things now. And I was sharing at a meeting the other night that, I can sit uncomfortably in dark times, because you're still going to have them. Everyone has them. But you can sit in them knowing that they're not going to last forever. And 2, that it's part of life. And it happens to everyone. Everyone has shit days.
Yeah. And the difference is that you're no longer drinking alcohol to numb yourself and avoid that shit stuff. You're processing it in real time, which is painful.
Yes.
But it's so much more real.
Oh, 100%.
You get to experience life now in full colour and the benefits that you've received from that. I mean, you are a completely different woman from the woman I met, the first time we met in Elwood. Like completely different. You're unrecognisable on so many levels.
The angry girl.
Yeah, and scared and you literally had fuck off written on your face, which is really common for a lot of women when they come into rooms, especially rooms of other women. But, to watch particularly your relationship with your children, I feel like I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I know.
My God. It is so beautiful to witness, the way you show up for them and the love. And I just, it's such a privilege to witness. What does that feel like for you to be able to not only get your kids back, but to have a relationship with them now that is far beyond anything you've ever had before?
It's mind-blowingly. It's hard to put into words. For a long time, I wasn't present at all in any way, shape or form. I would be at their netball matches. I would be at footy matches. I would be there to pick them up after school, quite a lot of the time probably drunk because I could walk to primary. But I wasn't there. I was passed out on the couch at 8 o'clock every night, 8:30 every night. And now I'm honest with them. I have amazing relationships with them. They tell me not everything because they're kids. They don't tell their mum everything. But they do tell me a lot. And I'm there. I can support them through breakups with boyfriends, have them crying in my bed till 3 a.m, have Maddie on the other side of the world, lonely, and be able to talk to her till 2 a.m. And just they know So the way I look at it is my kids never stopped loving me, but they didn't trust me and they didn't have any faith in me. Now they do. And, you know, I remember talking about for a long my first Christmas and New Year that I had sober and going down to the beach with the 3 girls. My son didn't want to come down because he doesn't do the whole sunset. Let's look at the moon thing that I do. We went down to the beach for sunset one night, and I just remember the girls, well, especially my youngest because she's a water baby, but running in and out of the water, and we were all just sitting down chatting with a bottle of water, and yes, it was water, and it was one of the happiest memories that I'd had in a long time. And it was that small, but it was huge for me.
Yeah.
You know, and the girls probably didn't even realise how much it meant to me.
Yeah, wow.
And, you know, the fact that every year on Christmas Eve they want me, again, not Josh because I'm not interested in Christmas lights, they want me to drive them around to look at all the Christmas lights. And I can do that now.
Yeah.
God, there would have been no Christmas Eve that I would ever have been able to drive them around anywhere.
It's so special, isn't it? Like you really, the way you can show up now for them and the healing that's happening, you know, thank God you got it when you did. You know, thank God.
Absolutely.
It's mind-blowing. I want to know, you know, Joe, like a lot of the time as addicts, we put down one substance and then we seek to find other things to fill the void because there's still the hole in the soul, right? And yes, we get that relief by enlarging our spiritual life. But has there been any other areas that have come up that you've had to address that you're still in the process of addressing at this point in your recovery?
Peanut M&Ms.
Peanut M&Ms.
They were probably my, I remember my kids saying to me, Mum, it's about the peanut M&Ms and the herbal tea. I went, well, I can stop them and start drinking wine again if you like. They're like, no, we're pretty good with that. But, yeah, look, I think sugar for a lot of, you know, well, for a start, every meeting you go to is just lollies and biscuits. But I think my kids had never seen me eat chocolate,
Sugar,
lollies, ice creams, anything, ever. And then all of a sudden I've stopped drinking and I've started eating those, you know, those massive like $11, not just the party pack, the next size.
It's got to be the family size.
Course. And I could knock one of them off in 2 nights.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So you've had an intervention around sugar.
Yes. Well, I did medically as well because at one point my sugar levels were high and I did have to stop eating any sugar because they thought I might have been diabetic, which thankfully I'm not at the moment. But, yeah, and look, shopping is a weakness. You ask any of my it's and online shopping.
Do you have conscious awareness around the act of shopping and the desire to feel good? Like,
yes.
Yeah, you do. Same. And that means it's not as fun.
No.
I felt really shit. You know, as you know, I went through a bit of a rough patch a few days ago. And I said to my husband, I didn't even want to shop.
And that's when you know it's
because
really
I was lying on the couch in my depressive funk and I was like, the thought came into my head because the thought will, you know, thank goodness it's never a drink will fix this. But the thought was maybe you could just buy some stuff and that'll make you feel better. And I was like, no, it's not going to work. I was like, oh, damn it.
Not even that instant gratification.
No, nothing. I got to sit with this one. Damn it. Yeah, it's funky, isn't it?
But do you know, it's interesting because yes, I did a lot of shopping in Ubud, as you know.
You actually weren't that out of control and a lot of it was gifting.
A lot, yes, it was. I haven't done any shopping since I've been back apart from food shopping.
Good, a whole 10 days. Well done.
I know. Hey, that's impressive for me.
Progress, not perfect.
Exactly.
Oh, my God, I love it. And, you know, something else I really respect about you, Joe, is that you don't stop doing the work. And so you've got a team around you, you know, like we still work together. You've got a therapist who you see. You still go to regular breathwork sessions yourself and you're immersed in that world. Why is that important to you?
I think it's important to me because I think I'd still be a bit mentally insane if I didn't do that. Me, I can even touch back on when I was in rehab. Because it was COVID when I was in rehab, we were doing all the meetings we were doing were online. Hated them. So that was my first reintroduction after that original one meeting that I went to. And I'd sit there and go, oh, great, we have to sit in the meeting room and do yet another online meeting. Like, because for me, I need
the human connection.
And I needed snoring.
He's not snoring. He's just gazing up. God bless him.
For me, I needed the human connection. So for me, I remember having a conversation when we were doing our, was it monthly
call?
Zooms when I first met Christian.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
Yeah. And I remember saying to him, I love meditation, but I kind of still feel like I need community even around that.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's, and now I'm
going to the ashram.
Fully entrenched in, but I go to the ashram and I go to ceremonies that they do there, and we've been together, and, it's just another point of contact outside of AA, but still beneficial to my recovery. So I need those things in my life, 100%.
Because it's almost like, we do the stuff to get sober, but then, I was just chatting to a mutual friend of ours about this recently. You've got to keep doing the stuff if you want to stay sober. Absolutely. And then also, like, if you want to keep building a big, beautiful life, we don't rest on our laurels.
No.
You keep doing, and more will be revealed. Every single time. I've just thought about the breath work that you and I did in Ubud. And I was like, look, not every experience is going to be amazing, but we continue to show up and do the work and practice self-inquiry. That beautiful yogic principle of self-inquiry. And now you're facilitating and you've become a teacher and you're qualified in breath work. You've redone your 200-hour teacher training. What do you see for the future? What are you actually doing? What are you offering the world now?
Breath work. I will obviously be developing the business further I go down, but at the moment focusing on breathwork because, it was interesting. I was just revisiting some of the learning that I did before you and I went to our teacher. And it's such an incredible pathway to learn about our inner workings, both physically and from the first time I did breath work with you, with Amy, I fell in love with it. I mean, I felt really uncomfortable doing it.
Yeah.
As you can when even I can feel uncomfortable still doing it. Like it's called, as you said on the retreat, it's called breath work for a reason. Like you actually have to work at some of it.
Not breath rest.
No, the breath rest. But it's truly, it can be life-changing for people. I truly believe that. Probably more than any, I mean, obviously apart from meditation, which is just a non-negotiable. Breath work is my other non-negotiable. And whether it's doing, a breakthrough session that you and I might do together, or I might do at home when I don't have the kids, or whether it's just the 5-minute coherence breathing in the morning, or, whether I'm, I've used it on my daughter, because she gets anxiety. So I've talked her through breath work. I think Johannes, who taught us, has started opening people's eyes to the science behind it and how medically beneficial it can be for people.
Without a doubt. And it's accessible to everyone. Which is so
anyone,
cool.
Anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, literally. And it's like free. Yeah, I mean, once you learn what you need to do.
Exactly.
And then also, like you said, there's the beautiful experience you can have of doing breathwork in community.
Yes.
You mentioned meditation, but also like one of the things I love and I still participate in is I go to other people's workshops because I want to breathe in community and I want to experience. Everybody has a slightly different style and they bring out different things, and It's so potent. So that brings me then to, you're running a workshop, aren't you, in a few weeks? Or,
Yes.
Well, it's November, right?
Yeah, November the 12th.
Amazing. So what can people expect from that kind of workshop?
Look, I guess I'm running it because it's the lead up to Christmas.
The silly season.
The crazy season.
Which, even if you're not a drinker, is still really hectic.
Oh, look, I can find Christmas, even in sobriety, overwhelming.
100%.
You know, especially given that I have 4 children to purchase for. But for everyone, I think it can be quite an overwhelming time. And then for others, it can be quite a sad and lonely time.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it?
So I guess my next event I'm looking at is about sort of saying to people, just stop and check in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is so important, because it's like, as we lead up into that time of year, you're saying yes to everything. You've got, family to see. Everybody for some reason is like, let's catch up before the end of the year. And it's like, why? I'm gonna see you next year.
Yeah.
Like, I might even see you on like the first or the second.
I
No,
know.
we've got to catch up for Christmas.
Got to catch up before Christmas or New Year.
Exactly right. So there's this constant pressure, and I mean, it's a great time for any people pleasers out there to learn to practice boundaries. But I love that idea that you're creating this space where people can go, and it's just a time to check in, to learn a little bit more about breath work. I'm assuming that you're going to take people through some sort of breath flow.
Yes.
There's probably going to be a bit of journaling, some introspection, sharing.
Yeah,
a
little bit of communication with each other, like getting in, sitting back into community as well.
Yes.
Just to know that even in amidst the craziness, there's still somewhere to go.
Yes.
And that there's people that you can lean on or reach out to or call or send a message, or just to have a bit of support, because people can get really lost in their way at Christmas time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And just to have a little bit of a reset, just to go, I know it's all coming, but I can take this break for myself.
And fill my cup up so that I can pour from a full cup rather than an empty one. Oh, I love this. I'm going to be there, okay?
Yes.
Count me in.
I'd love you to come.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Have you got, you know what? I'm sure there's a link. I'll pop it in the episode show notes, so if people want to come along, they can.
It's in Cheltenham.
Yeah, great. And it's Wednesday the 12th.
It's Wednesday the 12th.
Amazing.
Yep.
So, Joe, what's actually, I want to ask you, before we get into what's next, what are you working on at the moment? Like, what is the thing that within your own internal world, what's the next chapter?
Look, still, I feel like I'm still in that midst of really learning about me. It's funny because on this retreat that you and I were just on, we always, like, it's helpful to have some idea of why you want to be there for me, and that we get asked that question when we go, and it's, for me, I still really struggle with confidence in myself, and I've heard, I can't tell you how many people say that once they've gotten into the rooms and they've got a period of sobriety up, that they've learned to start loving themselves again. I still don't have that. It's so ingrained in me. I was even thinking about it in the car driving here. Like, Maddie did my makeup for me, my eldest daughter, and I don't even like looking in the mirror. I'm still a long way from loving the person inside of me and figuring out who that is. So doing yet another teacher training, a yoga teacher training with Christian and Nataraj next year, which will be vastly different. It's hatha yoga and lots of philosophy.
Beautiful.
Which I feel like, it sounds a bit wanky, but sort of spiritually guiding and being able to help people, whether they're in recovery or not, through breath work, and just being able to impart knowledge through yoga, through meditation, through yoga nidra, through all the things that I believe have benefited me. That's the direction that I'm going to continue to head in.
Which is so beautiful, because as you and I both know, when people can share these tools, these practices, these gifts from an embodied place, from a place of lived experience, there's just something so potent.
Yep, absolutely.
It really is life-changing.
And I know what it's like even, somebody said to me once, they really struggle with anxiety and they started seeing a therapist and they were like, she doesn't know what it's like to have a panic attack. I want to talk
She's
with
read
somebody.
the book about it.
Yeah. And it's not that she's a bad therapist in any
not.
way, shape or form. But this person said to me, I want to see someone that knows inside what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody needs that, but from my perspective, that's what's helped me.
Yeah.
That's really how I've benefited. And that's why the AA rooms are still so important to me.
Mm-hmm.
You can gain something. You can always pick something up, or somebody will say something to you in a slightly different way that will really resonate with you.
100%.
So I guess, where I'm heading is further into what I've started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Further into breath work, looking at different ways of running breathwork classes, linking them in with other modalities. I want to go and do my master's in my breathwork back in the Snowy Mountains next year, later next year maybe. I don't know, maybe go to India.
Yes, we've got to go to India.
We've got to go to India. I want to go back to Bali. I want to take my kids. So lots more work, lots more breath work. At this stage, yoga will come into play. I've got to have surgery next Monday. Basically get a shoulder reconstruction. So that's going to put me out of action for a little bit, which is why the next breath work's not till November.
I think what's really cool is that from what I get from you is like there is just endless possibilities to where your life can go. And that's all a result of you making that decision to get sober.
Absolutely. And I was talking to Danny about that when we were away, and I said it used to consume me that when I started learning something new, I didn't know it all instantly. But I love now the fact that the more I'm open up to different modalities and different people's beliefs, and even learning about, off the drivers in Bali about their religious beliefs and what they do, and it's like I love it. It's like a never-ending ocean of stuff for me to learn about.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to view life. My goodness, Jo, this has been awesome, and I'm so grateful for you being so open and transparent and honest with your story. I think it's going to help a lot of people. We do have a closing tradition on the show, and that is to ask our guests, what are your 3 non-negotiables that allow you to live your life today happy, authentic and free?
Breathwork.
Breathwork, great.
Meditation.
Yeah.
And time with my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How beautiful.
100%.
They're your non-negotiables. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, Jo, thank you so much, my darling. Thank you for being here today. Like I said, for sharing your story so transparently. I'm going to make sure that I pop the information about your upcoming workshop in the episode show notes, and you've got your Instagram. Remind me what that is.
Beyond the Wave.
Beyond
__.
Amazing. So people can check you out there. If they want to reach out to you, is that the best place to?
Yes. Yep.
Fantastic. I'll make sure I link all of that below. We say here on Behind the Smile that when we recover loudly, no one needs suffer in silence. So thank you so much for being here today, my
thanks
darling.
Thanks for having me, Ash. It's been beautiful.
Wasn't as bad as you thought, hey?
No, you just like having it.
Thanks, Jo.